An old photo album. These days, it mostly gathers dust on the bookshelf, unlike earlier times when the family was homesick. In 1961, after finishing military service, 23-year-old Mustafa Akshi came to West Germany. He was one of the first Turkish guest workers. When he got off the train in Wendlingen near Stuttgart that day in July, he learned the meaning of culture shock.
Life in Turkey is very loud. In Germany, I felt like I was wearing earplugs. There were no children yelling, or donkeys or cows. Germany is a very silent country, I think.
His first workplace, a family-owned business near Stuttgart, was also very different from how he'd imagined it.
I was expecting to come into a factory with 500 workers. Instead, I walked into a house, and in the basement there were 2 lathes and a drill. I didn't have anyone to talk to. So for a while it was very difficult for me. And I thought, if things stay like this, I'm heading back to Turkey.
It was the CDU under Chancellor Konrad Adenauer that brought in the foreign workers. Germany's economic miracle was in full swing. The fresh labor was supposed to help keep a lid on wages. At first, the opposition SPD and the unions opposed the move. The first labor treaty was signed with Italy in 1955, then came Spain, Greece, and in 1961, Turkey. Many Turkish workers traveled on special trains from Istanbul, like this one. By the time the program ended in 1973, 700,000 Turks had come to Germany to work, mostly in mines or the metalworking industry. Newsreels said the Turks working on railroad switches were paid the same wages as their German colleagues, 400 to 600 marks a month. They committed to stay for a year. The reporter here asks the interpreter whether the workers' expectations had been met. He answered, yes, mostly, but many had been misinformed in Turkey. They had hoped to work in factories. Besides that disappointment, homesickness and separation from their families were the toughest problems for the workers, he said. In 1964, the number of guest workers in Germany exceeded the 1 million mark. The 1 millionth new arrival, Armando Rodriguez, was treated to a special celebration and a 2-seater moped as a welcome present. The newsreel narrator said the gift confused him at first. Supposedly, he hadn't realized how important he and others like him had become for Germany's economy and prosperity. Mustafa Akshi retired in 1995. His last position was as an engineer for Mercedes-Benz. Now he finally has more time to read books, including German ones. The guest worker of old has matured into a German-Turkish intellectual. Looking back, he's convinced that he would never have been as happy in Turkey as he has become in Germany. He says he was able to develop more freely as a person here, but Turkey still plays a large role in his life.
It's funny. When I'm in Germany, I feel Turkish, and when I'm in Turkey, I feel German. That's how I feel. It certainly surprised me when I first realized it.
Normally, Mustafa heads to the local library each day to read the newspapers. But today, he's opted for something special. For the first time in almost 50 years, he's visiting the company where it all started for him in 1961. It's supposed to be a surprise visit.
Herr Dunkes.
Mr. Dunkes, he says, it's me, Mustafa, from 50 years ago.
Ich bin Mustafa. Vor 50 Jahren.
His old boss remembers, my God, he says, and asks how Mustafa's been doing.
Dankeschön, es geht mir gut.
Mustafa's former boss is now over 80 and still in the business. He has fond memories of his long-lost worker and proudly shows him around.
He was my first worker back when I started.
I came in 1961. He brought me over from Turkey personally.
Mustafa's decision to go to Germany in 1961 changed his entire life, just as he and so many others like him have changed Germany for good.